You know something, man? I know something that you don't know. That's right, Jack. The man is clear in his mind, but his soul is mad.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're looking at movies that have become tragic over time thanks to outside forces or revealing behind-the-scenes news. As such, we will not be including examples of actors passing away before a movie was released, as the misfortune was known about going in.
You've changed things. Forever.
Ain Brockovich.
Boy, do I know how you feel.
A huge surprise hit, Ain Brockovich scored over $250 million at the box office and garnered 5 Oscar nominations. It follows the titular activist who successfully sued the Pacific Gas and Electric Company for polluting the water of Hinckley, California.
Causes of action against Pacific Gas and Electric are upheld.
The movie propelled the hero into the national spotlight, but her family wasn't quite ready for it. After winning the case against PG&E, an incredible amount of pressure was placed on Brockovich, and the professional obligations often took her away from her children.
There was thousands of emails when this first broke towards me. It's like, oh, you know, I'm sick of Ain Brockovich and stop wearing your bustiers.
With her mother gone for long stretches, Elizabeth Brockovich started acting out, often skipping school and falling into heavy substance use. Luckily, Ain Brockovich noticed the warning signs and enrolled her daughter into rehab.
I will take care of this, I promise.
Jingle All Away.
What the heck? Why not spread a little Christmas cheer around the neighborhood?
While this Christmas movie remains an annual tradition for many, their viewings may be soured knowing what happened to the late Phil Hartman. He plays the nosy and way too involved neighbor Ted, and Jingle All Away would be the last movie released in his lifetime.
Oh, these cookies! I gotta get the recipe from Lowe's.
The movie came out on November 22nd, 1996, and just 18 months later, Hartman was shot and killed by his wife, Bryn, who was under the influence of drugs and alcohol. Hartman starred in 3 more movies following Jingle All Away, but all were posthumous releases. The knowledge of his violent murder sort of takes the joy and cheer out of the otherwise fun Christmas classic.
Howard, I'm of the mindset you can never do too much to make a child's Christmas magical.
The Birds. While it's considered one of the greatest horror movies of all time, The Birds is somewhat tarnished thanks to some behind-the-scenes drama. Decades after the movie was released, it became clear that director Alfred Hitchcock was highly inappropriate around actress Tippi Hedren.
No.
Those involved with the production claim that Hitchcock was obsessed with the star, but she constantly denied his advances. He also subjected her to injury on the set of the movie and later locked her in a restrictive contract that prohibited her ability to find work. And it is widely believed that Hitchcock did so in revenge for Hedren turning him down.
After all, being dominated by an almost maniacal woman was enough to drive anyone to the extreme of, well, let's go in.
Rebel Without a Cause.
You're tearing me apart!
Heralded as a masterpiece and a defining product of the 1950s, Rebel Without a Cause is also very difficult to watch knowing what happened to its 3 leads.
I know one thing. I'm not going back in that zoo.
I'm never going back.
All 3 would be found dead within a span of just 25 years. All died violently, and all before reaching their 50s. First to go was James Dean, who perished in a car crash just weeks before the movie was released. Sal Mineo followed, being stabbed and killed by a mugger in 1976. And finally there's Natalie Wood, who drowned under very mysterious circumstances in 1981. Their young deaths are especially ironic given that the movie is all about youth, and these actors barely even left theirs.
Is this what it's like to love somebody?
I don't know.
Raw.
Are you okay? Mom, you look crazy.
Years after her work with Alfred Hitchcock, Tippi Hedren starred in the adventure comedy Raw. The movie came and went, but it has since developed a cult following owing to the production's egregious disregard for health and safety.
Nice line. Nice line.
Most of the details were relayed in Hedren's book, The Cats of Shambhala, which was published 4 years after the movie was released. Most of the large cats used for filming were untrained, leading to at least 70 injuries. Noel Marshall was bitten a dozen times and suffered gangrene. Hedren was also left gangrenous after an elephant fractured her hand and ankle. Melanie Griffith required facial reconstruction after being attacked by a lioness. And cinematographer Jan Dubont was scalped by a lion, resulting in 220 sutures. Men Behind the Sun.
What do you think they're going to be doing to us now?
One of the most controversial films ever made, Men Behind the Sun chronicles the various atrocities that the Imperial Japanese Army conducted throughout World War II. It largely centers around Unit 731, a secret Chinese facility that was used for human experimentation.
Headquarters only recognizes the importance of bacterial weapons in this war. They fail to realize that biological and chemical weapons are also very important.
The film is intensely graphic, more akin to a feature-length gore video than an actual movie, and that's essentially what it is. The various body parts and organs were real, being both human and animal in nature. There are shots of real animal cruelty, and one infamous autopsy scene was conducted with a genuine cadaver. The movie is disturbing enough, but knowing this makes it unwatchable.
According to the previous test results, it'll be quite difficult to produce a strain of bubonic plague that is more than 60 times as infectious as the standard type.
The End of Evangelion.
Am I doing something stupid?
As its title suggests, The End of Evangelion serves as the ending to the enormously popular and influential anime Neon Genesis Evangelion. It came about largely through fan demand, as the show's ending was considered controversial and unsatisfactory.
Yeah, right. Doubt they're gonna let us off that easily.
Near the end of the film, a series of creepy images are flashed on the screen. One is an email death threat written to Hideaki Anno, the creator of the Evangelion franchise. The other is the vandalized office of anime studio Gainax. Both were reportedly done in response to the ending of Neon Genesis Evangelion, conducted by furious and dissatisfied viewers. It only makes the ending that much more unforgettable.
Can't live without the trust from those you love.
The Last House on the Left. For some, this Wes Craven flick is a brilliant commentary on human depravity. For others, it's an irredeemable piece of sadistic trash.
Hey, talking to you.
Whatever side you land on, there's no denying that it's a troubling watch. As it turns out, it was even more troubling to make, especially for lead actress Sandra Peabody. Peabody was routinely mistreated on set, to the point that she was being constantly consoled by Craven.
I can get you methadone. I can get you methadone just as quick as that. Reed, come on. Let's get out of here.
At one point, Mark Scheffler, playing Junior, threatened to push her off a cliff. She also had a very difficult time working with David Hess. She claims that Hess was methodical off-screen, and Hess himself admitted that he got too physical during the infamous sequence in which Mary is assaulted. Incubus. While William Shatner went on to great things, his co-stars, and the movie itself for that matter, were not so lucky.
Venture me.
Anne Atmar took her own life shortly after filming had wrapped. Milos shot and killed Barbara Ann Thomason, the estranged wife of Mickey Rooney, before turning the gun on himself. Marina Harvey, the teenage daughter of Eloise Hart, was abducted outside of her mother's home and murdered, supposedly by members of the Manson family. Then all prints of the movie were lost in a fire. One sole copy was later found in 1996, allowing modern viewers to watch one of the most cursed films in history. The Exorcist.
The power of Christ compels you! The power of Christ compels you!
It's only fitting that a movie about demonic possession is also incredibly cursed. The making of The Exorcist is almost as legendary as the movie itself, with plenty of on-set accidents, injuries, and freak occurrences.
Now, my hunch, my opinion, he was killed by a very powerful man.
Both Ellen Burstyn and Linda Blair seriously injured their backs during filming, leaving them with lasting debilitations. Various crew members lost limbs in freak accidents, and many people involved in the film died during production or shortly afterward. The technician in the famous angiography scene was later convicted of murdering a journalist. It was all too much for director William Friedrich, who asked a real priest to exorcise the set.
Reagan to raise McNeil, so he may no longer hold captive this prison.
Others attribute the supposed curse to Friedrich's careless leadership and brilliant studio marketing.
Is it over?
The Shining.
Whenever you come in here and interrupt me, you're breaking my concentration. You're distracting me.
Great art is often made from great pain, and that is certainly the case with The Shining. By all accounts, the filming of this movie was an absolute miserable experience, led mainly by the perfectionist attitude of director Stanley Kubrick.
It'll be like it never happened.
You couldn't find some way of sort of not looking at her and looking down as you say the line.
The days were incredibly long. Kubrick often demanded dozens of takes, and principal photography took over a year to complete. Shelley Duvall was often a specific target of Kubrick, furiously arguing on the set. Some of this antagonism can be seen in Vivian Kubrick's behind-the-scenes documentary, which aired 5 months after the film's American premiere.
I honestly don't think the lines are going to make an awful lot of difference if you get the right attitude.
It shows Duvall fighting with Kubrick, losing her hair from stress, and even lying on the floor out of total exhaustion. Stalker. Considered one of the greatest Soviet films of all time, Stalker was filmed in 2 deserted power plants near the city of Tallinn, Estonia. These plants were found on the Yagala River. According to sound designer Vladimir Sharun, a nearby chemical plant would often pour its runoff into the river, and this poisonous liquid would make its way downstream to the power plants. While it's difficult to correlate, Sharun contends that many people involved in the film became sick from these toxic chemicals and later died of their illnesses. This includes assistant director Larisa Tarkovskaya, star Anatoly Solonitsyn, and director Andrei Tarkovsky.
Душу вложишь, сердце свое вложишь, сожрут и душу, и сердце.
Peter Pan.
Oh, sit down, it won't take long.
It's hard going back to these Disney classics knowing that most, if not all, involved are now dead. It's especially hard going back to Peter Pan. Peter was voiced by Bobby Driscoll, who was a young teenager when the movie came out in February 1953. Driscoll was relentlessly tormented in high school owing to his involvement with Disney, and he fell into heavy substance use. He then faced multiple arrests and was sent to a rehab center, all while his career rapidly deflated.
Well, for a week then. Come on, Wendy. I'll show you the island.
Oh, Peter!
Driscoll eventually moved to New York with the hopes of making it on Broadway, but he was unsuccessful and died of heart failure at just 31. His body was found in a deserted tenement, went unclaimed, and was buried in an unmarked pauper's grave.
Come on, everybody. Here we go! Up to Neverland!
Star Wars Episode 1: The Phantom Menace.
I have a bad feeling about this.
I don't sense anything.
The first prequel film was, well, not very good, but some ardent fans can't stop their dissatisfaction from boiling into torment. There's poor Jake Lloyd, who allegedly retired from acting because he was relentlessly mocked at school.
They're so good and kind. They make even the most hardened spice pirates cry.
Then there's Ahmed Best, who provided both the voice and motion capture for the widely maligned Jar Jar Binks. It must have been incredibly difficult being blamed for the demise of Star Wars, as many people use Jar Jar as the scapegoat for their general displeasure. In 2018, Best wrote on Twitter that the, quote, media backlash still affects his career today, and that he considered taking his own life as a response to the constant ridicule.
I'm hot.
I can imagine.
But
I'm hot too.
But I'm cool. You know what I'm saying?
I wish I could say the same.
Apocalypse Now. This title could also refer to its production, as the set of Apocalypse Now was basically hell on earth.
Taking fire, I'm taking hits all over our farm. 3 o'clock my position. Drawn fire, I'm heavy fire.
This is perhaps the most famous example of a troubled production, and the behind-the-scenes problems could fill a book. In fact, it has, and documentaries, and the reveals were truly shocking. Most of the sets were destroyed in a typhoon. Actors didn't get along, quit, and showed up in surprising conditions. Martin Sheen was having a breakdown and nearly died of a heart attack. A real water buffalo was slaughtered for the climactic scene. Genuine human corpses were accidentally bought to dress Kurtz's hideout. I mean, the list is endless, but it all adds a mythical element to an already mythical film. Natural Born Killers. One of the great ironies in movie history is natural-born killers inspiring copycats. I mean, the movie is a satire of the media's obsession with violence and the glorification of crime, but some viewers miss the point entirely. Whether earned or not, the film has been blamed for inspiring many copycat crimes. Numerous school shootings have been linked to the movie, as the perpetrators were vocal fans. This includes the Columbine killers, both of whom wrote about going, quote, NBK.
Ladies and gentlemen, this kiss has been a year in the coming. They're doing something everyone told them they would never ever do again.
This sentiment was repeated by Jeremy Steinke, who along with his girlfriend Jasmine Richardson, murdered Richardson's parents and brother. The incident bears a strong resemblance to a scene in the movie, and Steinke reportedly spoke of, quote, going natural-born killer on her family.
I'm a natural-born killer.
Poltergeist.
What is it? What is it?
Perhaps the most cursed movie ever, at least in terms of pop culture infamy, is Tobe Hooper's Poltergeist. One infamous tidbit of trivia involves the pool skeletons seen in the climax of the film, which were 100% authentic. They were medical skeletons purchased by makeup artist Craig Reardon and dressed up to look dirty and rotten. But no one told Jobeth Williams that they were real. Adding to the eerie mystique of the film are the tragic deaths of Dominique Dunne and Heather O'Rourke. Dunne was murdered by her ex-boyfriend just 5 months after the movie was released, and O'Rourke died in 1988 when a bowel condition sent her into septic shock.
There is no death. It is only a transition to a different sphere of consciousness.
The Conqueror.
Deny it. I will not. To deny it would give substance to your thought.
In this widely maligned film, John Wayne plays Genghis Khan, and Utah stands in for the Far East. One filming location was the Escalante Desert, which was downwind from an old nuclear bomb testing site.
Why is this carcass lying here?
It is an omen, my son.
Despite assurances that it was safe, 41% of the crew developed cancer in their lifetimes. This includes John Wayne, who died of cancer in 1979. Even some of their relatives developed tumours, including 2 of Wayne's sons. Some argue that the correlation between the illness and the radiation is difficult to prove, as the cancer rates among the crew fall in line with the national average. Many were also heavy smokers. However, those who became sick did so at a relatively young age, lending some further credence to the theory.
Our losses, are they great? A few.
Various MCU movies. Some people are intensely private and keep even the most serious news to themselves. One such person was Chadwick Boseman. Boseman was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer all the way back in 2016, shortly before filming of Black Panther had begun.
I accept your challenge.
He filmed several MCU movies throughout the chemotherapy, and his illness progressed into stage 4. He kept the cancer secret from everyone but his family, so it came as a huge surprise when he died in 2020. Knowing what Boseman was going through makes revisiting these films somewhat difficult, but something tells us he wouldn't want it that way. He didn't want his sickness to impede or influence his work, and we shouldn't let it.
The time has come for you to come home and be reunited with me.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. The Wizard of Oz.
We've got to get away. We've got to run away.
When it was released in 1939, The Wizard of Oz was unlike anything else, and it profoundly influenced the future of cinema. Going back to it with the knowledge we have today is an altogether different experience. Production was an absolute nightmare, resulting in numerous health issues. This includes Margaret Hamilton getting burned by fire and Buddy Ebsen being hospitalized after inhaling the aluminium dust used in the Tin Man's makeup.
Goodness. How did you ever get like this?
Well?
The worst was reserved for Judy Garland, who often suffered sexual harassment and physical abuse by the cast and crew. She was also regularly given Benzedrine tablets in an effort to keep her lean. Garland later struggled with substance use and died of an overdose at just 47.
Then I'm sure to get a brain, a heart,
A home.
the knife.
So, can you watch these movies without them getting you down? Let us know in the comments below.
Jesus Christ, won't somebody help me?
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.